Life is a precious thing to be in and to have. Life is so vast, but yet the complexities make life way more than what it is and what it seems to be. Some people take life seriously and some people don't. Some people make life harder than what it is, and some people just breeze through life like it's as simple as drinking water. Some people understands the intricacies of life and whatnot, while some people just can't grasp any of the concepts thereof. So all they know is that they exist and they are here. Some people don't care too much about life, and some people just take life for what it is. Whatever your concepts you have about life sometimes come from what you give, also what you take from life, considering that you should know this. At the end of the day, it is your own life to live. Listen, before I get started and go further into this audio, I would like for you to have pen and paper handy to write down some of the notes that I will be giving you. These notes are for your preference to follow along with me and for later use, so you can refer back to them whenever you like. That is important. Okay, well, since life may seem like such a mystery, how does a person lead themselves to have the best life possible? That within itself is a mystery just as well. With all of that being said, then how can anyone take authority and control over his or her own life? We all know that action speaks louder than words, and we have to show and prove things sometimes through what we say, but most often through what we do to make it more believable. So how do we take a stance in our life to prove what we are? Today, I am going to talk about those things and how to control our lives with our thoughts. I know some of you may be thinking, that is an impossible task to take on, an impossible thing to do. Controlling life through thought? Well, I am here to tell you it's not impossible. Actually, it's quite the opposite. In fact, controlling your life with your thoughts is much more simple than you could figure to imagine, and I will explain the details. So let's get started. First, can you please get your pen and paper to write this down? Supreme thoughts destines your life from a beautiful mind. Again, that is supreme thoughts destines your life from a beautiful mind. In my opinion, I came up with this to actually say, the more positive thoughts you have, you can better control the direction of your life with a stronger type of mindset. Yeah, I am guilty for a little bit of wordplay here, and I do that from time to time. It's just to get your attention. Even when you come back to read it later, it can hit you, then have you saying, oh yeah, now I know what this means. Anyway, this is one of the ways to control your life is by constantly feeding your mind with positive thoughts. Positive thoughts have a way to direct your life in a certain way. And you know when the positivity is good because it makes you feel good. This type of thing gives you energy and can motivate you to do something in action. Being positive can play much more in your life than you could ever imagine. So try to stay as positive as you can and keep your sights on that type of mindset. Okay, now check this out. Let's get more into depth about what we're talking about here, and that is controlling your life with your thoughts. Please write this down. To have control over something gives me authority over that particular thing. To have control over something gives me authority over that particular thing. First, what I'm about to mention are the things that we should recognize, the things we should actually have control over. Why? Because it's a given in which we expect to have control over these things without acknowledging specifically that we actually have that natural control. And these are things such as our movements, which physically that can be a natural control, making most movements that occur through natural reactions. You would think that we would be able to move without knowing that we have made a physical movement, almost as if it's a primary action per se. But that's not the case because all voluntary movements are thought provoked, meaning you have to think about how to move, when to move, and what body part to move, while involuntary movements are made within the realms of unintentional reflexes, which in turn makes them different from natural controlled ability. I'm not a doctor, but at least I know this much kinetics about the body. You feel me? Another natural control we should have are the words that we speak, even sounds and gestures, which again, in the physical sense, communication can be a natural control. So basically, do you see what I'm trying to get at here? Which naturally speaking, to break it all down, what I'm trying to say is it's our five senses are the things that should be a given, which we should actually have control over. Well, at least for the most part, without it being a handicap nor any type of limitations within the boundaries of our physical perceptions. My apologies. Our physical possessions. That's what I meant to say. Our physical possessions. I just got a little tongue twisted there. But anyway, let me get back to this. But hold on. Hold on for a second. I have to give out one of the most profound things that the entirety of where life derives and exists from to have control over. But first, can you tell me what the answer is? I'll give you another second to see if you could come up with the answer. Okay, do you have an answer yet? Well, believe it or not, the answer is, it is actually your mind. Yes, your mind controls everything about you. But get this now, even though your mind controls everything, you still have to get control over it. We will discuss how to get control over your mind later in this segment. Right now, let's talk about one of the things that every human desires. Question, again, do you know the answer to what that is? I'll give you yet another quick moment to think about that one. Okay, here is the answer to every human being's desire. The answer is, believe it or not, we all want to have authority over something. Yes, that is the answer. And why? Well, because it is in our nature. Perhaps, in fact, that is what we all desire. We want to be dominant over something. We want to control things. We want to be what a so-called, if you will, a boss. In some fashion or form, everybody wants to be the head of something, so to speak. Everybody wants to be significant over something. What the problem is, we want control over everything we possibly can and have authority. But here's the problem. We cannot fully control ourselves most of the time, let alone want to control something outside of ourselves. Now think about that for a second. And why is that? Because we are too busy trying to figure out everything else, especially other people's problems and other people's lifestyle about what they should or shouldn't do, but can't recognize our own life differences and problems that exist with us. And that, my friend, is a very huge problem, a very huge issue. One of the main things we think that we can control is another human being. No one has true control over anyone, let alone barely controlling themselves. It doesn't matter if it's your child, you want control. It doesn't matter if you own a company, you still want control. Whatever it is you think you have authority to be the head of, get this. In most people's mind, no matter what, most people will always want to have that control. Please write this down. You cannot control someone else's circumstances. So try to figure out what your own life problems are and put more action into correcting your own issues. Again, that is, you cannot control someone else's circumstances. So try to figure out what your own life's problems are and put more action into correcting your own issues. We need to pay more attention to our minds and the things that derives in similarities, such as the way we think, who we truly are, and our own true capabilities. Listen, the way we think brings out who we are, and who we are dictates in many ways to what we are capable of doing. One person can do such an awful thing, which can be deemed as a bad thing by someone else thinking, wow, how could this person do a thing like that? Why would this person make that type of mistake? See, for the bad person to do such a thing, it all started with his thought mentality, his morale, to form his mental state, making him who he is at this particular time. Well, is that who he truly is? He's done the act. So we know what he's capable of for sure. Now, on the other hand, he may not have understood what he has done, nor may not gave it a second thought. In other words, this guy is just living life doing whatever. He doesn't know any better. Is that an excuse? Inquiring minds want to know. Since he wasn't taught any better, nor understood any better, this is just the fact of whom he really is and turned out to be. Or is it? Now, we could dig much deeper by blaming his parents, the school he went to, his environment, his surroundings, or better yet, his current situation. We don't know what's going on in this guy's head or what this guy possessed him to do such thing. Uh, does he need help or do we punish him? What is the whole outcome of this situation? See, what we think makes us who we are to bring out certain characteristics and attitude that show what we are capable of doing. It's all part of the 3 C's, and they are connecting, conquering, and controlling. All of this being said is part of how a person can become who they are, whether it be negative or positive, and good or bad. The full concept falls under this mindset projection. Um, so how do we control our thoughts, leading to controlling our lives? I want you to write something down. Before you do, I want you to know that from this point on to the end of this segment, or audio, if you will, anything I have you to write down, I would like for you to personalize it to yourself. This will make your writing more special and more meaningful, even when you read it back to yourself at a later time. Okay, now please go ahead and write. Anything my 5 senses deals with can influence the way I think. Again, that's anything my 5 senses deals with can influence the way I think. First of all, 5 senses? What are 5 senses? Well, they are number 1, sight. Number 2, hearing. Number 3, smell. Number 4, taste. And number 5, touch. Did you get that? Those 5 senses? Great. So know this. When you can fully control these 5 areas in your life, then you have a better edge on life itself. Well, someone might say, okay, Mr. Antonio DeAndre, sir. Man, I was born without sight. So what are you trying to say? I don't have an edge? No, listen, you can still have an edge. It's just easier when you do have control over these 5 senses. And to add with this segment at this time, personally, yes, I myself do have a handicap with one of the 5 senses, and I promise to talk about that at a later time. Okay, moving on with how do we control our thoughts leading to controlling our lives? Well, to have control of your life, you absolutely must take control over your thoughts first. So to keep control of your thoughts, you have to have constant awareness of what you will and will not let into your mind. This has to become a constant battle of repetition in your mind every day. Because once your subconscious mind picks it up, it is then downloaded to become part of whom you are. Change your environmental surroundings. Know this and listen to me carefully. What you allow to be in your current space, which some people call it their bubble, this perhaps says a lot about whom you are. Did you get that? I say it again. What you allow to be in your current space, this perhaps says a lot about whom you are. The things that you own, all of your possessions, do they move you forward or do they hinder your progress for a better future? These are the things you have to decipher, even down to the point of, can you actually depart from these particular things in life? The next one is the people you deal with. Who are they and what do they talk about? Meaning, when you're around certain people, what are their conversational pieces consist of? In other words, what do they constantly talk about the most? The thing is, if you want to have a better life, now listen to me closely. You yourself have to have a better conversational piece when you talk to others, and the things that you listen to from them should have the substance to move you forward. Okay, not every time when you're around these particular people, but at least at certain times. Them and plus even you both know when to turn it on and turn it off by knowing when to have these serious conversations, or just to know when to let your hair down, kick back, and just have some fun. You know, other than talking, other than talking about anything other than, you know what I mean. But remember, this says a lot about whom you are to what you will or will not accept when it comes to just conversation alone. Because always remember this: the things that I said can have a stronghold so tight, these words can actually shape your life. Those words can actually control the characteristics of whom you are. It doesn't matter whether the words are good or bad, negative or positive. Strongholds comes in many different forms and many different words. Believe that. How to keep your mind sharp and remaining in constant focus so your life can reap the benefits. Your philosophies and principles has a lot to do with it. These substances and structures has to be on point, meaning if you are writing them out, don't be vague. Complete them with full sentences. You have to be open and readily to carry them out at any time with your actions. This not only helps your philosophies and principles to be real to you, but it helps you to stay in control of your own realms of life with these guidelines. The content of your philosophies and principles should be constant on a positive level and stay positive always. So please write this down. The more positive things I constantly feed my mind, the less negatives I will possess thereof. Again, that's the more positive things I constantly feed my mind, the less negatives I will possess thereof. Positive and negative thoughts cannot produce the same results acting at the same time. You're going to have to deal with one or the other. So choose which one to make more important to you. This is where your philosophies and your principles kick in, maybe even earlier than this, but you're gonna now start utilizing them for life strategies, which can be such a good thing in so many ways. By focusing and following your own substances in life can be huge if you apply what's right and what works. Once you get this part of your life figured out, then you have a straight shot guidance to much prosperity that life has to offer. Our thoughts are the guidance for our lives. What we think makes us who we are. So please write this down. If I want to become someone different than what I am now, then I have to change my mental thoughts from what I have always been thinking. That is, if I want to become someone different than what I am now, then I have to change my mental thoughts from what I have always been thinking. Once the habit of change takes form in your mind, then the action of change will take form in your life. But you have to be a believer, and then you have to be convicted. You literally have to take charge of your thoughts, then put them to action. Repetition of thoughts is a sure way to download things from your conscious mind into your subconscious mind. Once your subconscious mind picks it up, you can almost certainly be sure that your actions will follow and start playing the part, mainly if you put enough thought behind it and circumstances push you to act. Once your actions do show up on that physical level, this is whom you will become. So, my friend, please listen and get this. The lesson I have spoken about and taught here, I really would like for you to take heed and apply those beneficial guidelines and substances to your life. We all want to become a better person and to always move forward in life. Am I correct? So, in our thoughts, it can seem like an easy task to just think of this and that, but when it actually comes down to physically doing it, for some reason our coordination seems to be off, as if our neurons isn't firing correctly. But understand this, repetition of thoughts is a start to get things going in a much positive and a much easier way on that plane. Things could turn out to be good or bad, negative or positive. Choose what you want and choose which way you want to go. Just with your thoughts alone are the guidance. So at least try to allow your thinking to be the main control of your life. My name is Antonio DeAndre. I thank you for listening. Until you hear me again, stay blessed and share that love with others. Take care.